G'day, my name's Darryl Webb. Today we're going to have a look at the oneleaf AI nv100 Plus. And so it has the rapidfire plus scope, dedicated scope with mount built into it, and the nv100 Commander night vision add-on. We'll go over its specs, everything, we'll check it out. I'll do a little testing so you can actually see it in use, and we'll give some pros and cons at the end and a final conclusion. Anyway, on that note, let's get into it. Ooh, okay, so a few weeks ago I received this box, and in this box was this rifle scope and this night vision add-on. Commander, the oneleaf AI, sent it to me. Now I use these at work. I've got a few of these. In the box is pretty much a scope, the night vision thing, some extra eyepieces, some little tools, some covers, cleaning cloths, an instruction manual with tape, the night vision, and the scope itself, and with an adapter, a 45mm adapter to put it on another rifle. So normally, if you haven't seen my other reviews about these, so normally these guys, what it is, you actually have an adapter. So this night vision comes on and off. Now, if you have another scope on your rifle already, then what you do is, there's an adapter with an Allen key on it, and you put it over your scope. Sometimes you might have to build it up with tape, but you clamp it on and then this guy can move on and off. This time they've obviously teamed up with a scope manufacturer and had a scope made with their adapter already built into it. Now that's pretty cool. So the reason why it's pretty cool is because they've gone for a dedicated sort of like what it's meant for, night vision. So for instance, it's got a 56mm lens. It's in a 30mm tube. I know the size of the tube doesn't help with how much light transmission there is, but it can't hurt having a bigger tube, and it does give you a bit more up and down movement in the adjustment. But a 56mm lens is big, especially in 3 to 12. So I haven't gone overboard with the magnification. So at 3 there should be a lot of light coming through to the night vision add-on. So at that time I was in the process of building a dedicated night vision setup with a Picatinny rail, so I can quickly swap between normal scope, night vision scope, to different night vision devices, or maybe thermal devices, but doing reviews here on YouTube. So I had to wait for this rifle to arrive. There were some bits and pieces. I'm still waiting for some more goodies for it to go on, but I've got the basic rifle, and I thought I'd go out and test it. Seems the scope was sitting there doing nothing, waiting for me to use it. So we'll start off with, we'll show you some clips now of it actually being used, and how it looks in the day, how it looks in low light, and how it works at night at different distances, because I wanted to see, is IR, without having heaps of big accessory, more lights and things like that on it, can you get away with just a device like this out to sort of those centerfire ranges that would typically be used for something like a 223, where it's sort of where you would hold zero. So if you sight this in 223, about an inch and a bit high at 100, it should be roughly about an inch low at 200 meters, and that's pretty much a good flat shooting cartridge for out to 200 meters. Can this do it, and without having an extra illuminator on there? Let's have a look at some of this footage and you tell me what you think. Okay, so we're about half an hour before dark, maybe 20 minutes before dark, so I thought I'd just, while it's on twilight, just have a look around. So this is in daytime mode, obviously. The scope is zoomed all the way out. These tree branches we're here looking at are at 50 meters. So this is on 3x zoom. That's me doing adjusting the parallax on the scope. It actually makes it look a lot brighter than what it really is. Now that tree at the back with the crosshairs are right on now, that's at 400 meters. So let's focus that at 400 meters. This is low light, mind you. We're in daytime mode, obviously. Alright, now let's wind the zoom in from 3. Let's wind it up to 12. Just to see what the clarity of the scope's like. Okay, so this is 400 meters. Actually about 390 something, but anyway, close enough. So through the camera, that's me trying to focus it there. That's pretty good. And as we, okay, we've got a little rabbit here at 120. Or 2 rabbits actually. Alright, Connor, can you film through that, mate? press long hold the very back button.
Very back one.
Yep, just long hold it and it'll start recording.
Yep.
Recording?
Yep.
Alright, you're watching, I'm going for the right hand one. I don't know if it's a fox or a roo. I can't tell. I think it's a roo. Yeah, it's a roo. Okay, so this is 350 metres to that kangaroo. It's completely dark, obviously. Here and there you see a whisper of eye shine. I would say that's not quite enough light to shoot him by. I'd have to run an external IR, so that's a 350. But considering they say you can see things out to 300, so that's pretty good. Here we are with some kangaroos at about 100. That's on 3 times zoom. I'll wind that up to 12 times zoom and get a rough look. So this is what? They look like about 100. It's a pretty good picture actually, isn't it? Cool as. Alright, definitely works good inside 100. It's fantastic inside 100. Yep, that's good. And the other ones are out there at 350. But yeah. So, using the built-in IR at 100 metres is easy to do. Wind that back out to 3 times zoom. That's where the IR zoomed all the way in. If I zoom in it goes dark. I've got a much broader range for it's dark then while we're zooming in. And there he goes on the hop. Just give me a rough idea what he's at.
160 about.
160.
Yep.
That's pretty clear for 160. I'll zoom. Oh, that is in. Oh yeah. So that's him on 12. That's him on 3. Yeah, looks about right. 160. Yeah. Alrighty. I'll zoom out. I'm going to hand the gun to Connor to have a shot.
I'm not going to be able to hit that.
Yeah, you will, mate.
Nah, you ran off.
So that footage sort of shows it's pretty impressive anyway. We'll talk about a bit more about that footage, and as we see some more, we'll play some more footage over while I'm talking about this. We'll talk about that more at the end. So again, if you haven't seen my other reviews, this is a night vision camera that attaches directly to the back of a rifle scope. Now this is new to me, this part is in the scope. So it's a 3-12, it comes with rings. It has, so let's go some of its main features. It has 1/8 minute of angle adjustments. It is side parallax focus, which is important for these rifle scopes, and it has an illuminated reticle. The big plus is this, the fact that you're going to run it on night vision. It has a 56mm lens, which is getting pretty much, it's a pretty big lens. While we're at that, we'll go over the specs quickly of both units. With an unboxing, it says in there the package will contain the nv100 Plus, a scope adapter, USB data cable, 32 gig flash card, 18650 rechargeable battery, tape ×1, rings ×2, a manual ×1, Allen keys ×2, and lens wiping cloth. Let's now, go over the specs. So the NV100 digital night vision, it's magnification value. So the one that comes with it, you can buy these in 12mm and 16mm focal lengths on the actual night vision device. But this is the 16mm one. So it has a 4 to 24 times zoom. Display resolution is 1280 by 960. You take a photo, yes. Video resolution 1080 by 720 or 1080 or 720p. Frame rate is 30 frames a second. It runs on an 18650 battery, or you can power it remotely by a USB. 6 hours battery life max. It weighs 12 ounces. Digital zoom has 1 to 3. Equivalent IR power, so the IR illuminator is 6000 milliwatt. IR wavelength is 850 nanometer. IR detection range 300 meters. Focus range is 0.3 meter to infinity. Eye relief is 25 to 70 millimeters. There's a micro SD card up to 256 gig. A microphone, yes, and the dimensions are 5.13, 3.73 by 2.04 inches. That's the specs. All right. The rapidfire plus scope. It has magnification range 3 to 12. Eyepiece lens diameter 35 millimeter clear aperture. Eyepiece lens diameter 56 millimeter clear aperture. Objective tube diameter, this is 64mm. Adjustment increments MOA, 1/8 MOA. Category hunting. Field of view meters at minimum and maximum zoom. So at minimum zoom it's 12.32 meters at 100 meters, and at maximum zoom it's 3.5 meters. So it's got a pretty good field of view actually. In angles it's 7.05 degrees and 2 degrees. Near focus meters, it focuses down to 15 meters. Eye relief is 100 to 82 millimeters. Exit pupil 18.7 to 47. Diopter plus 2.5, negative 2.5. Elevation adjustment 70 MOA. Windage adjustment 70 MOA. Parallax sitting yards, it's 100. Well, it's not actually because it's adjustable. Parallax adjustment 15 yards to infinity. Focusing type side focus, lens coating fully multi-coated, focal plane, second focal plane scope, illuminator reticle, 11 levels of illumination, reticle is a mill line, battery type CR2032, coating type ruffle scope, tube diameter 30mm, main body colour and finish is black, body material aluminium, waterproof anti-fog, yes, impact requirement 500G 200 times, overall length 304mm and weight 28.3 ounces. Alright, so main features of the scope. Let's try and get this focused on there maybe a bit better. Okay, so it's 3 to 12 times zoom. It has cap turrets. It says 1 click equals 1 MOA. It has a side parallax adjustment which show markings on there from 15 meters up to infinity. It has 0 to 11 levels of illuminated reticle. One thing I have found exactly with the scope tracks very, very well. I did a quick little tracking test on it, just one shot, you know, sort of went up 5 MOA and went right 5 MOA, down 5 MOA and back to left 5 MOA. And it tracked good, it went right back to where it started at. But in saying that, it's in 1/8 MOA clicks is written on the dial, but the markings are incorrect for it because it's like it's a 1/4 MOA dial on the sides. It should be like number 1 should be 0.5 and number 2 should be 1. So it goes up. You can see there 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and it goes to 1. It should actually only be 0.5 or just a mark. It should have nothing written on it. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 to 2 and that should be 1 MOA. So the numbers actually don't work out. So the dial markings on the side are for 1/4 MOA, but it is actually a 1/8 MOA. That's not really a big drama. If you do dial, it could be very inconvenient, but I don't really do the dialing on this type of setup, so it's not a big drama. Clicks are really well defined. The dial is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's not mushy at all. There's a tiny bit of free play in there. I mean, it's just tiny, but you can hear that. It's pretty sweet. It dials really well. As I said, it tracks well, so if you are someone who dials it, you could maybe put a bit of tape over there and do a custom markings on there, or mark it at 50 meter increments or something like that. The actual reticle, is very usable. I'll try and put an image up now of the reticle. Those marks line up pretty well. For me, the way I've sort of zeroed it, it'll work out that the first mark will be like 225 and then 250 and then 275 and then 300. Obviously being second focal plane, that'll only work if you're at full power. If you change the power setting, it'll be something different. So, but if you're shooting out plus 200 meters, I'm imagining you're going to have the scope zoom wound all the way up anyway. The rings provided for it, look, they actually set down all right. They've got a little small piece of cloth with them on each part. And I've seen that before on some other cheap rings that I've had. I left it in just to see how it goes. I imagine that's what it's intended to do, but I might take that out later. They actually seem to secure down all right. I originally, when I first put it on, I had different bases. My Picatinny rail hadn't arrived yet, and I tightened them down and I just put like a little Torx bit in there and give them a nip. And they did actually come loose on me. So when I've redone this, I've actually torqued them up quite hard now, harder than what I normally would, but I also put a drop of blue Loctite on there. Now normally I wouldn't do that, but maybe with these rings you might need to. They're not the most fancy rings I've ever used, that's for sure, but hopefully they get the job done. Alright, so the actual NV100, it's the same as the other ones I've reviewed, very, very similar. So it has a built-in illuminator. This one has the 16mm lens. It runs on a single 18650 battery that came with it. Battery life's pretty good. I think it's about 2600 milliamp hour. You can buy bigger ones, use your own, carry spares, I always do. If you're using the illuminator on this, goes from 1 to 6. I typically use it about 3. If you start going 4, 5, then it does chew your battery down a bit faster and you will need to bring spares. The diopter works really, really nice. It's stiff, it won't turn easily by itself. You can get a super clean image in it. I also like the fact that trying this for centerfire, you can actually zoom in on the image. So effectively, when the screen's in there, like on its base setting, you have to have your eye right up against this to see the full size of the screen. But it's got another 2 zooms, so it actually makes the screen smaller, so you can actually get further away and still see the full screen, which is pretty important. Not that a 223 kicks very hard, but even a small amount of recoil, if your eye's pressed right against it, it can hurt your eye. So it's good you can actually sort of get your eye, a couple of inches away from the actual main body of the device, and you're not getting a smack in the eye. As always, the buttons are very clicky, very tactile. There's no worries about have you pushed the right button or anything like that. They're easy to find in the dark. On the side there, it's got a little charging port. It's got an earpiece port, so you can actually listen to headphones. So if you listen back, because it records in this, and it came with a. Did that turn off? I won't drop the card out while it's turned on, but it came with a little 32 gig micro SD card as well. All in all, these have been really good bang for the buck. The quality of the sensor I've really, really liked, and I do use these. These are the only ones I use now. I don't have any other ones. I have a few of these oneleaf AI NV100s, the 12mm and the 16mm. Take your pick, whichever suits you more, how much wider field of view, whether you get the 16mm or the 12mm one. They clip on really easy. The battery's good and the IR, it's a really simple way of doing it. Oh, there's also a laser in there too. It's got adjustable windage and elevation, so you can actually pinpoint things for people who haven't got night vision to see what you're talking about. But as you've seen in the other videos, the way these things work, let's go on. You focus this to the crosshairs in the scope, and once the crosshairs are nice and sharp, then you adjust the parallax on the scope to make the image sharp. And that's an important bit. When you pick a scope for these, you need to have something that's got adjustable parallax, and you need something that lets the right amount of light in. Also, the other thing that I've found is you've got to pick the right scope, because you can get it can make a big difference in your ability to use this on your scope if you start with something that's not really that suitable. This performs really well together, obviously, because this is designed for this. I've used a few different scopes on my other rifles, and some of them don't like this very much. Like, they're just not very suitable for it. Some of the ones I found that have worked good, I use a Zerotech, just a Vengeance. That's a more budget end scope, and a very budget end scope, and Nico Sterling Panamax. They work very good with these as well. But they don't let in the amount of light that this does. So this is where this one's really impressed me, is the amount of light that's gone into it. So yeah, they definitely work together really well. Okay, pros and cons. Look, the whole system actually functions really well. The only one con I come up with is, I said, the markings on the dial don't correspond to how it actually is. So that it's 1 click is 1/8 MOA, and the markings on there are for 1/4 MOA. So really, it's a very basic mistake. But if you dial, and on other rifles I do quite a lot, it'll be a pain in the bum. I don't know if you actually need 1/8 MOA. I prefer 1/4 MOA, but maybe really long distance shooting or something like that, that would be more important. But it'd be nice if they could fix that, just so that dialing is more on the menu without it having to muck around and work out what's what. Another con, the illuminated reticle, I find it's sort of like nothing, and then it starts coming on. You've got 11 adjustments, but it's really only about 4 or 5 of them that actually do much. But it is really usable, so that goes a big part of the pros, because it's there and in low light it can help. Other pros, we're on the pros now. The mount. So normally you clamp these things on. Now it's not that hard to get a good fitting, but on some scopes they always get a little bit of movement in them, and because you're in a dynamic environment with a firearm, quite often it gets pushed and you bring it up to your eye and it's not quite straight where it should be, and you've moved the mount. By having the mount built into it, that's solved that problem. I haven't had any movement or anything, but obviously because it's made into it, and also they chuck one in there to bolt on to other firearms as well. So when you get this scope, you put that on one gun, you put the adapter on the other gun, and all of a sudden you've got night vision on 2 rifles from one package. More pros, the big lens, it really does help. As you've seen in the footage, I do find it works out to that 200 meters quite well. You can go beyond that, but then once you're sort of going out, if you sort of go out past 250, you really need to have another illuminator, an aftermarket illuminator or something attached to it, another laser type illuminator, just to chuck some more light down there. These IRs love their light, but for centerfire ranges, 200 out to sort of, 200 easy, 250 starting to push it a bit. It's really, really impressive that they're doing it all in one unit, because there's one of my pet hates of having sometimes when mucking around with the night vision stuff is you start having heaps of stuff off your gun hanging everywhere, and it becomes cumbersome. If you start having a rangefinder bottle to the side and then a secondary illuminator, all of a sudden you've got a lot of stuff on your firearm that doesn't really need to be there. How I've got around that is I have an IR, a rangefinder in a monocular, so you can either get an IR one or you can get a thermal one. I've got a thermal with a built-in rangefinder, and then now at the moment for this range, for the centerfire range, sort of out to that 200 and a bit, this guy's actually doing it all in one package. So that is the complete setup. I haven't got an aftermarket illuminator or a rangefinder on there, so that makes the firearm very compact and usable. I guess that's sort of my conclusion too. Would I buy it? Yeah, I would, for a dedicated setup, definitely. Can it be improved? Yeah, it can. As I said, mainly that little bit of a dial thing. Everything else is pretty good. But definitely the quality of the scope is a lot better than I expected it to be. I mean, it genuinely is. So like with IRs, I use a lot of the budget end scopes because they haven't got as many IR, anti-IR light filters, in the coatings. So it's important to get the right type scope for using infrared night vision with, and I found that the more budget end ones, stuff from like Nico Sterling and things like that, do it, but they're not perfect either by no means. These have got aperture adjustment, the parallax adjustments on the ballon, and your hand gets in the way of the light and things like that. This one's actually got most of the things I like. The side parallax adjustment, and chucking that big 56mm front lens on it is fantastic. So yeah, I would. And as I said, the quality of the image is a lot better. It actually feels like you're using a much more expensive piece of glass. And I probably haven't appreciated that as much as what I should. Because I mainly this one set up for night, and that's the way I mainly shoot. I'm just looking at its night performance, and it is quite good. And I can tell you right now, it's going to stay on there for a while. I might try other things on there, obviously, because I built this rifle for doing reviews and things like that. So I might try some thermal things. But as the main night vision shooting scope that's going to be on there, this is it. And the good part about it is I can take that off and it's still a very, very good performing daytime optic. So that's it. That's my conclusion. Yes, yeah, I'm going to use it. And would I buy it? Yeah, because it's in that cheap price bracket. Yeah, you buy this as the kit, and it's pretty affordable. What you'd pay for this and this separate is a bit dearer, but when you put them together, it's a good affordable package. And I definitely recommend it because it performs out to the distances as you've seen in those clips. You know, there's not many that perform as clear as that out to sort of, you know, out to 200 meters and beyond. So so that's it. I'll leave a link in the description where you can check these out if you're interested. I got no vested interest. I don't make no money in it if you buy them or not, so I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest. But check them out, and I'm sure there's other reviews of this guy on YouTube now as well, because I've taken my time a bit with this. I'd also like to thank Jason at oneleaf for being understanding me taking a little bit of time, because I wanted to try it out on this particular centerfire, so I've dragged my feet a bit with the review. But it's up now, so anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like more reviews and videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Anyway, bye for now.